This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hey everyone, today I want to share a new way to think about bucket lists from a famous social scientist. It might actually change how you look at your life and how you find satisfaction. But before we get into that, I want to really quickly talk about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. From websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is an all-in-one online platform to help you build your online presence and run your business. I personally love Squarespace. I've used it for my photography and videography business for years. I also used it for my wedding website way back in the day. What I love about Squarespace is that it makes it incredibly easy to build a beautiful platform that's just aesthetically minimal and eye-catching. Squarespace offers options like mailing lists, online stores, blogging and commenting features, and it also allows you to connect to your social media accounts. Head to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/sliceoflight for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I've always been the person who hasn't been great at creating bucket lists. I feel like so many people around me talk about their bucket lists, everything they want to do, and I've always secretly kind of envied them, like, wow, they really have their lives all planned out. And then at times that's driven me to try to force myself to create a bucket list, to think of maybe all the places I want to travel, all the things I want to do or accomplish in my life. And ultimately what I found is that these bucket lists actually leave me feeling worse than before I even made them. Now, I will say it's true, it's good to have goals in your life, to think about how you want to plan your future. If you just go aimlessly throughout life, you know, what's the point? When will you do the things that you actually want to do? But I also think that sometimes having this vast array of things that you want to check off before life is over can become really overwhelming and make us focus on what we don't have instead of what we do have. And so recently, my sister actually sent me this article about this whole concept of forgetting the bucket list. And I thought I'd share it with you. I'll share a couple of links down below that I think are relevant to this concept. But basically, there's this Harvard professor and social scientist, Arthur Brooks, who has developed this new way of thinking about satisfaction. We go through life, I think most of us, searching for satisfaction, for feeling good, for feeling complete, like we've accomplished something, like we're in a good place in life, feeling content. And he says that historically, satisfaction has been thought of as a formula. Satisfaction equals getting what you want. The thing is, though, that Arthur Brooks says it might actually be a little bit more complicated than this. He's spent a lot of time thinking about this formula and found a new way that he thinks is far more accurate at actually achieving satisfaction. Dr. Brooks says that satisfaction equals what you have divided by what you want. And the thing is, to some degree, we have some control over what we have. We can choose how to spend our money, or we can decide to have things that aren't necessarily monetary, but are of value to us. However, you might have circumstances in your life that make it difficult to make more money or difficult to achieve that thing that isn't even monetary. And so you can do what you can, but you can only control so much over how much you actually have. The thing Brooks says that we actually have more control over is what we want. And if we actually spend more time creating reverse bucket lists, where we're creating lists of things that we already have, that we appreciate or enjoy, things that maybe we used to want and now have, we can actually feel more satisfied by making the denominator of that equation smaller, by wanting less, by not wanting way more than what we already have. We can become more satisfied. And I think the comforting piece is that if we spend intentional time training our brain to think about what we want a little bit differently, we might be able to change what we want and end up wanting less. I definitely think this fits in with minimalism, that if we learn to want a little bit less and not desire so much, we might find more contentment and happiness in our everyday lives. I have to say, in my own life, I've always looked to the next thing. I've always thought about what the next achievement I can make is, or the next milestone, or the next belonging or item. I tend to always look to the future, and I haven't been as good at just sinking into the current moment and noticing what's happening around me. And I have to say, it's added to a lot of stress. And no joke, back in high school, I was voted most stressed in our yearbook. And I don't know what that says about me, but clearly I wasn't totally satisfied and I was thinking about the future. Back then, it was thinking about where I was going to go to college. And ever since then, there's always been something that I've been striving for and pushing myself toward. And I think it's led me to focus so much on the future that I don't focus on the present quite as much. I think a more specific example is when I used to want my own car. Here in the US, we always seem to want our own cars. I don't know why that is, but it's a cultural thing. It's also maybe more likely how we get around our cities. Anyway, I really wanted a car, and I spent a lot of high school and college kind of envying other people that had their own cars. And then finally, when I got out of college, I got my own little car, and I was so excited. I used my own money, and I was so proud of myself that I had my very own car that allowed me so much freedom. I anticipated that purchase so much, and I was so thrilled and grateful to have that car. And that lasted about a month, and then very quickly I started noticing the things about the car that I didn't like, since it was used and the stereo didn't really work, the radio still doesn't work. I still drive the same car to this day, and I have found so many things I don't like about it. And so very quickly I started thinking about the new car I wanted to eventually get. And so that has been something that's been kind of like sitting on the back burner for years and years. But I do think that constantly fixating on what I want, a new car, and having that on my list of things I want to do, buy a new car, it makes me less satisfied with the fact that I do have a car that allows me freedom to go where I want, when I want. And even though the car is a very physical, specific example, I think this whole concept applies to our aspirations and our dreams and desires. I think sometimes when we're constantly thinking about our jobs and our achievements, or theoretically things we want to do, or places we want to travel, we constantly have this bucket list that builds and builds and builds, and quite often creates this life that you've envisioned that isn't really attainable. Like, if I could put all the places I want to travel to on a list, I think there is no way I could travel to every place that I actually want to go to. I would have to spend so much money traveling the world that I would have no time to work, and I would have no time to spend with family and friends. I think so often these bucket lists create unattainable dreams and desires that just aren't going to happen, and that leave you feeling dissatisfied. I think instead the reverse is the solution, that we actually spend time writing down and thinking about what in our lives we really care about and what we enjoy. I want to spend more time thinking about what are the things I'm appreciative of. What do I love about my life? What do I enjoy doing that I am doing? I think about the fact that I really enjoy my job right now, and I think that's really awesome. I never knew that I would truly deeply love my job. I also have a husband I absolutely adore, a family who's super supportive and wonderful and fun to hang out with. I've got incredible friends. Andy and I recently bought this amazing house that I am incredibly grateful for. We have this adorable puppy, and there's just so much to be excited about and grateful for. And if I could spend more time writing down the things that I love about my life, or that I enjoy, or that I've already done, things that are pretty cool, maybe I'll start to feel a bit more satisfied. I also think sometimes we kind of forget what we've actually accomplished, and so we forget to also appreciate ourselves and what we have really done with our lives. So often we think in week-long intervals or maybe month-long intervals, and we don't think, hey, what have I accomplished over the past 5 years? Where was I then and where am I now? And I think when we actually do that and make a list of all the things we've done, all the things we're proud of, all the things we're grateful for, we can start to feel a lot better. And I genuinely believe that when we start to feel better, when our mood is improved, when our affect is more happy, we're more likely to be more motivated to do more in the future, and therefore maybe even achieve more on that typical type of bucket list. I'm not saying that we should throw goals or aspirations out the window, but maybe the whole construct of a bucket list as something that we should have in order to be well-rounded, cosmopolitan people should be shifted. And maybe we should spend more time looking at our own lives and what we already have. That's really all I've got for you today. If you ended up enjoying the video, hit the thumbs up button below. You can also hit the subscribe button below if you want more videos on minimalism, building an empowering mindset, and simple living. And the links to my Patreon and Instagram are below if you want more content. On my Patreon, I post full other videos if you want additional content, and then on my Instagram, I'm still kind of developing it, but I'll add a lot of photos and hopefully in the long run, more behind the scenes stuff. And don't forget the link to Squarespace is below as well if you're interested. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.